from a junkyard is about to be released, and how he will bite viciously. But his attack shall not only be with Iran, but it shall come against Saudi Arabia. But the Lord says, do not worry, because while these cats and dogs are fighting, America shall begin to bloom. America shall begin to prosper. America shall bring oil. America shall bring oil. America shall suddenly see a massive influx of new ideas and creativity. A new energy is coming, and it's coming soon, says the Lord. A new energy is coming, and it's coming soon. Are you listening to me, says the Spirit of God? And it is in Arabia, and Saudi Arabia shall and has persecuted more Christians than you realize. But God, I said, I will now make them accountable. How shall I do this? I will prosper the very country that they hate, calling them the great Satan. New energy is arising. And God says, even though oil shall always be fought after, they shall be burning and burning and burning like you have never seen. And they shall be persecuting. That day is upon us. But I just heard something, and I know that you watching all over the world just heard it with me. You just heard from this den God's prophet laying out a plan, entering into a new era of energy. America, listen, fracking and whatever you call it is going to take place. There is going to be a great supply of oil. Yes. And God spoke this. Yes, many would say, but it's time for America to end now.
This came forth September 3rd, 2005. And then, it shall come from the least obvious thing. They will say, oh, how obvious it was. It was right before our very eyes. It will be safer for the environment, safer than oil, and safer than petroleum. How is it that we do not smell what we smelled before? In the fumes, it is gone. It is about energy. It will come from three sources. The first is bugs and garbage, okay? It shall come from the garbage. It will come from the ground. It will come from paper, and it will come from bugs eating a bunch of stuff. I'm seeing a bunch of bugs eating a bunch of stuff. God said this is going to be the craziest thing. They are going to say, wow, this is being wasted. The creatures are eating what could be used to cause our engines to work and our vehicles to move.
And I wish we had that original clip. It was when I was in Pastor Jason Guerrero's church, excuse me, in California, and I started prophesying about bugs and all this stuff, and it was amazing because I really absolutely had no clue of what I was talking about years ago, and said out of this there will be a relief to the energy crisis and da-da-da-da. And then I said the big E.
May 27th in 2007, this is what God spoke through Prophet Kim. God says now the second one has been revealed. The second one has been revealed, and it shall come from deep within the sea. The third one, which is the ground, and it said it's right under your feet. It's coming from the soil of America. There will be 5 new energies that will come forth. There will be 5 new energies from these 3 sources. Let's look at Kim's prophecy from June 16, 2007. Check this out. There will be an acceleration so that America will suddenly have 5 new sources of energy. There will be 5, not 1, but 5. There will be 5 sources of energy, and they will say, what will we do now? We have so many sources.
About being debt free. Yes. Many of you know about this, and we're proclaiming it. It's going to happen. It's in this decade that it's going to happen. But some it will be very quick. That's one of the things I noticed in these visions, that there was so much relief and so much joy and victory and happiness and laughter because of we're free. But I saw Fire Point again. It was going across it, and I caught a glimpse of it. But it said fire, but it was broken up into 3 sections. Fire, point, E.
Wow.
And so if you can write that down, fire, point without the E, and then E separately. Remember I spoke about the big breakthrough with a big E. Never did I realize when I wrote fire point, when it first came to me, that it would also mean, it was fire point as well, but fire will point to E.
Petroleum, not oil, is currently being wasted on thee. Then it shall come from the least obvious thing. They will say, oh, how obvious it was. It was right before our very eyes. Safer than oil and safer than petroleum. How is it that we do not smell what we smelled before? In the fumes, it is gone. But God said, I will give the spirit of discovery, creation, and inventiveness into the motor industry. Not in Japan, not in any other place. Okay? Not in Germany, not in Switzerland, but in Detroit, Michigan, says the Lord. And they will mock the discoverers. They will mock the inventors. Who is Ford? Let me tell you, God says, Ford will be revived. It shall be revived in a way that shall shock the motor industry. And they shall say, where did this all come from? Option shall cause men to go to the board and say, why didn't we see it? It was already written there in the 50s, the 40s, and the 50s. It was already somewhere in the thinking of mankind, of science. Now, like I said, what is this global event or this global interruption, okay, that took place or that will take place? Like I said, this was 2007. Well, that global interruption is COVID-19. The whole earth has succumbed to this ugly virus that was clearly created in a laboratory. But we won't get.
Here's a quick tutorial on the Gabriel Environmental Rescue website. It's GabrielEnvironmentalRescue.com. We have opened up to the home page, and on the home page you can see all the categories across the top that you can step into. And if you scroll down on the home page, it goes to a cube of different photos and pictures of different equipment that exist for LNG, CNG, and all the products that we're about to bring out onto the marketplace. And then we can come back up to the home page, the flared gas map. That'll take you and open up to Sky Truth. Gas flaring, it first pops up with the United States. You can use that map and you can actually go in, you can zoom, and you can go to South America and look at the flaring there. You can pull back on it and zoom back by hitting the plus and minus. You can see the flaring across the whole world in Europe, and you can still zoom back in and you can see that each of those dots as you zoom in, say here in Africa, that you can keep zooming in until you see that the thing that looks like is a few dots is many dots all close together. Those are all the gas flares that you can find throughout the world. And then we'll go on a 7-year plan. It'll eliminate 1 trillion square feet of greenhouse gases, 100 billion square feet of unburnt methane, and 200 million square feet of unburnt ethane, and tons of black carbon. Now, as you scroll down on the 7-year plan, you will see that we have 5 new fuels that we take out of the flared gas. Now we'll go to the equipment, and we'll start with the liquefaction equipment from Air Products that we're going to use. And then we come in and show you the 3 different sizes of liquefaction plants that we're putting out in North Dakota and in Texas. And then we'll go back to the equipment and we'll click on the cryo boxes. They're the smallest of the liquefaction equipment we have, fit right on the backs of semi trucks, hooks up to flare. It averages about 8,500 gallons a day. You can also take this and put it on a wellhead and it'll produce 10,000 gallons per day. And then we go to the next section, which is Kinder Morgan. Kinder Morgan do multiple things, and they also have a number of the pieces of equipment to pre-treat. They also are in the gas lines. They run the lines, they run the equipment, the gas, and turn it into pipeline-ready methane. All right, and then you can go into the gas turbines, electric power section. It'll click on and it'll bring up, show you a picture of a gas turbine that exists, and then we have a PDF of all the different turbines that exist from 2 to 600,000 megawatts. We're going to take one of the world's biggest environmental hazards and turn it into 5 new environmentally friendly fuels. Each of our environmentally fuels will make a negative environmental impact. Our first fuel is EF-LNG, environmentally friendly liquefied natural gas. Is up to 4% cleaner and 8% more powerful than LNG that's on the market today. EF-LNG will replace diesel fuel, and as you can see, Cummins already has existing engines that can be replacements or in existing trucks that they sell right now that exceed the Clean Air Act standard of 2027. The second fuel is EF-CNG. EF-CNG is produced by EF-LNG by taking the liquid and turning it into a gas. 1 gallon of EF-LNG turns into over 2 CNG gallons. You can also see that Ford makes a 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder, 8-cylinder, and 10-cylinder engine that'll run on EF-CNG. The third fuel is EF-EPG, environmentally friendly electric power gas. EF-EPG can be run through gas turbines, and the turbines can generate from 2 megawatts to 593 megawatts of power. We will also use EF-EPG to produce electric power to run our equipment out in the field. The fourth environmentally friendly fuel is EF-LPG, environmentally friendly liquid propane gas. EF-LPG is already considered an environmentally friendly fuel, and it is not regarded as a greenhouse gas, and it is approved as a clean energy source by the 1990 Clean Air Act. EF-LPG can be used in vehicles. It can also be used in homes to replace gas stoves, and it can also be used for heating in homes. And you can even go down and see how EF-LPG compares to electric power. And the fifth fuel is EF-LBG, environmentally friendly liquid butane gas. It is also not considered a greenhouse gas and is listed as an approved clean energy source by the 1990 Clean Air Act. EF-LBG is also the most powerful of the gases. 1 cubic foot of natural gas creates 1,012 BTUs. 1 cubic foot of EF-LPG creates 2,520 BTUs, and 1 cubic foot of EF-LBG creates 3,200 BTUs. All right, then you can go back to your main page, and we can click on our charities section. It comes up to our His First Team web page, where we go through and we can show you can watch the videos and stuff there. But here's some of the things that we did in Africa over the last 2 years. We put roofing on outhouses in Hue, Africa. We brought food in and distributed food. We brought these solar lights in and distributed them out, that you could put them out during the day for those that didn't have electric power, and they put out enough light to light the inside of a room up during the night. We also put out screening, to put screening on the windows to protect from mosquitoes and malaria and other sicknesses and diseases. We also have put out the water treatment containers, have our own water treatment containers that aren't just one Africa's, that we can put out throughout Africa, and cost us about $65 to put out, and it does enough to do 100,000 gallons of water. Sickness and disease from water is about 35% of the deaths in Africa. And then we also have our Hope for African Children that we go out and we help fund these children for schooling. These are street children, orphans that we bring out. We bring them in, we give them a Christian education, and it's in West Africa. We also have in Rwanda, we have opened up a new office in 2021 where we teach in English classes. We have a college professor that we've hired that teaches English in our classes, give them a lunch while they're there during their teaching. And we also have started doing some programs that we started doing some cosmetology, and we have hair glasses. This is for job training so that they can go out. We have purchased hair dryers. They cut hair, they can weave hair, and we bring people in and try to give them a way that they can get out of poverty and get some job training and be able to go out and have a form of income. And then you can go back to the His First Team site. You can click on, this is Rabbi Rory K, and you can see his story, and you can see all of our projects that we're doing. Here he is meeting with the rabbis that own property on Mount Zion. We have a number of programs that we're going to be doing on Mount Zion.
Shalom. Shalom from Jerusalem and the top of Mount Zion. This is Raphael Cohen Tzedek. That's my Hebrew name, Rory K. Coming to you to talk about an exhibit that we're in the process of setting up here of the Ark of the Covenant. Wanted you to see the view. There we've got Mount Zion behind me, where the Messiah will come to us.
As well as we're going to have other projects on Mount Zion, including a 10,000-seat worship center that we're building right there on Mount Zion. So that shows you some of our Israel, His First Team is part of. And then we can go back to the website, and if you want to contact us, we have a section that you can come in and contact us. Pick a category if you have issues with this or that. Just make sure that when you go down that you click, after you put your contact information, click that you're not a robot, and then we will get that in an email form into our offices. And you can also sign up for the Gabriel Environmental Rescue newsletter. It's not being produced yet, but it will be later this year. If you want to sign up for it, you can just click in and sign up for it as well. And then we can go right back to the main page on our website, and you can click on that, and then we have our video on Gabriel Environmental Rescue. And if you click on that, it goes right into this video. I'd like to thank all you for taking the time to come and see what we're doing in America and around the world to make the world a safer place to live, and at the same time reach out across the world with the gospel of the kingdom. God bless.
For the last 20 years, we have been warned that we must decrease carbon emissions before it's too late.
Human activities like deforestation and the burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas are changing our climate in ways that pose increasing threats to human well-being.
You have to understand the enormity of this issue, not only for climate change, but the fragility of our dependence on imported oil.
Impacts of human-caused climate change are happening now.
Today's IPCC report is a necklace of human suffering and a damning indictment of failed climate leadership.
It's time to stop just talking about this and get it done. And we can do that. With our new innovations and technologies, Gabriel Environmental Rescue can dramatically reduce the carbon emissions that we have across the United States and around the entire world. We'll begin with one of the world's biggest environmental hazards produced by the oil companies globally, flare gas. Here is a satellite view of flare gas from 2021 until the present. This is produced by the Earth Observation Group of the Colorado School of Mines Research University. Flare gas is a worldwide environmental hazard. Gas flares contain methane, ethane, propane, butane, pentane, nitrogen, and the number one cause of air pollution-related deaths in the world, black carbon. Gas flares are under extremely high pressure, causing more than 10% of the gases to escape unburnt. Each year, there is released globally 145 billion cubic meters of flare gas emissions, including 14.5 billion cubic meters of unburnt methane, millions of cubic meters of black carbon, and 10.2 million cubic meters of unburnt ethane. North America has hazardous gas flaring in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. In 2020, North America flared 20.6 billion cubic meters of greenhouse gas emissions. Well, this contained 2.1 billion cubic meters of unburnt methane, 140 million cubic meters of unburnt ethane, and millions of cubic meters of black carbon. South America has hazardous gas flaring in Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, and Argentina. And in 2020, South America flared 13.4 billion cubic meters of greenhouse gas emissions. This includes 1.3 billion cubic meters of unburnt methane, 80 million cubic meters of unburnt ethane, and millions of cubic meters of black carbon. There are thousands of gas flares across our world. In Russia, China, the United Kingdom, India, across the Gulf of Thailand and South China Sea, across the Middle East, in Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Oman, and Yemen. Africa has hazardous gas flaring in Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, the Congo, Gabon, Cameroon, and Nigeria. In 2020, Africa flared 26.8 billion cubic meters of flare gas emissions. This includes 2.7 billion cubic meters of unburnt methane, 189 million cubic meters of unburnt ethane, and millions of cubic meters of black carbon. In the Nigerian Delta, gas flaring has become one of the worst environmental hazards in the world. The Nigerian government has, as a result, outlawed gas flaring and placed heavy and large fines on the European oil companies that flare in the Delta. But the oil companies simply pay the fines and refuse to do anything about this catastrophe. There are more air pollution-related deaths in Nigeria than any other country in the world. Gabriel Environmental Rescue Technology, we can capture all of these gas emissions and black carbon. It's time to stop this global crisis. Gabriel Environmental Rescue, God-given innovations and technologies to combat climate change and save the world.